All right, so here's the big idea. You have watched the training. I showed you what the tithe was. I showed you how to unlock it through humility, which is actually the word for meekness. And in the Bible, it describes how the meek shall inherit the earth. Listen, what they are describing is the earth that God created, the garden, Genesis 1. Meekness is the doorway to the kingdom within yourself. The act of tithing is the most potent act that you can take. That's why it has been the capstone of our entire ministry since day one. I've built my entire life around the tithe. So what I have here is I have a way for you to get it into your consciousness where you can receive that anointing. You sow into life where wisdom is reaching you. And with that covenant partnership that you make, it's an agreement, it's a trust, just like contract law. It becomes a performance, and it becomes the result of what was in the agreement. So Malachi 3:10 is what we are standing in agreement, believing for. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, and prove me now, saith the Lord of hosts. Now, what that means is, yes, you give back to God what belongs to God, the first 10% of all of your blessings that you are already received. You've already received them. As you become aware of them, you sow back 10% to the Father. It's powerful. There is nothing more powerful than this. As you do this, you shift the energy from the left linear logical reasoning brain over to the right kingdom, the right righteousness side of your conscious awareness begins to go through the midbrain, through the pineal gland, into the connectivity and the resourcefulness, the fullness of the source within yourself. That divine continuity becomes firmly rooted in your awareness. Now, I'm going to give you the idea here, assuming you are tithing. I want you to graft these exact words for present time venue awareness. All right, present venue awareness. This is based on the 5, 6, 7 language of David Wynn Miller. Now, the reason why, and I talked about this in my Matrix series, is the 1, 2, okay, the 2, 3, the 2, 3, 2. These language constructs, adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun, adverb, adjective, pronoun, 1, 3, 2. See, these language constructs are what embed the carnal mind into your everyday awareness. So when we step into the 5, 6, 7, okay, we are in a present venue awareness, okay, lodial, location, okay, noun, fact. We have factual evidence. So the way that I grafted this, it's for the, of the, with the, by the, with one verb in the sentence, which is an action, the volition of thought. There's only one verb per sentence with a full stop. It's not a dangling participle verb at the end of every statement. When you begin to think in this capacity, especially the way that I wrote this out, you take this on your walk with you. You take this through your meditation. You really sit with this until you receive the consciousness that will come to you. For this will open the kingdom for you, so long as you are performing the act of tithing. That is through an attitude of meekness, humility. That will unlock the kingdom consciousness within you to receive what I'm giving you. So we read it this way. For the tithe offer, of my grateful heart is with the gift from love by this recipient of good. Think about what every word means as you meditate, as you contemplate on this, as you take it with you in the stillness. Now, backwards, it reads the same. For this recipient of good, that's you, of the gift from love, that is life that sustains itself. It's the gift of having the earth that you inherited as Genesis 1 man. You're just reestablishing the truth. Okay, is, now here it is, with the grateful heart. That is meekness. Remember when I said gratitude was the sum total of all of the fruits of the Spirit? Meekness, humility must precede gratitude, or you are truly not in a state of gratitude. I of myself can do nothing must be your stance, because it's by the tithe offer. So if you're going about your business like I do, I go on a walk, and I'm going to do it today. I'm going to go on my hike. I am preparing for my holiday, Christmas, year-end tithe offering. Okay? Now, between you and I, there was a time when I used to tell God, you know, God, if you would just make me really rich, I would gladly give my tithe to you. And unfortunately, the first 2 times that I had to go through that, yeah, it was easy tithing, $20, $100, $1,000, $3,000, $5,000. But is it really within your heart of humility? Because God knows the heart. Is it really within your capacity to give 10% of several $1 million or more? You see, until you've been there, you might have to check your heart at every crossroads, because you will only grow in awareness of the Father to the degree where your humility is the bedrock of your attitude towards life. The bedrock of your attitude towards life. I was going to say backbone, but bedrock seems a more appropriate word. There is one thing that will defeat your enemy in this season of testing, and it is meekness. That's it. I have discerned in my prayer closet how the victory can be made available now. Because the meek shall inherit the earth. So, by negation, this implies that those who are not meek have inherited something else. They have inherited the curse of the Babylonian system. That is not the world that Genesis 1 man is firmly established in. As Mary Baker Eddy discovered in her book and described in Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, that wholly separate from the material dream of existence is the life divine. Now, in the first video, when I showed you the tithe and I showed you how the carpenter's square box gets removed, that carpenter's square box where the little I is the place of torment. It is the place of eternal damnation. It is Hades. Why do you suppose the accuser has been given full authorization to torment those who are in the lake of the burning fire? Because they are already in Hades. What I am revealing to you is how you can ascend out of that dream, that nightmare, and claim the earth that God has placed you forever in. It is through your attitude towards life, specifically through meekness, even more specifically through your tithe, that will open the kingdom and the prison doors will open. You see, when I talked about Paul and Silas when they were in prison and they began to praise and become grateful for God, they would not have been able to do this were they not already in the beingness of meekness. Man on the earth is not meek. Man on the earth is arrogant, because man on the earth has strengthened the carnal mind through reasoning of the devil. Reasoning is of the devil. And that reasoning on the earth says, whatever I make is mine to keep. I have earned it. It is mine. I have established my victory. And meekness says the opposite. Meekness says, by reflection, I have already received all that is. Therefore, by my tithe, by my act of humility before the Father, this receptivity is firmly rooted within me. Therefore, I can demonstrate the truth that I am forever established in the kingdom and the earth that God hath created. I tell you this not because I am a theologian, because I have lived it. I tell you this because God never failed. Man has always failed. God has never failed. The arrogant, being so proud as they are in Hades, suffering the persecution that has come upon them. For they are not the children of God, because the children of God come from the love, and they are the recipients of good. They are not the willful creatures that pursue other carnal instincts. Those are the children of Lucifer. Don't be deceived by your blind and lying eyes. God tests the hearts. There is nothing material in front of you that has an ounce of intelligence or life in it. The heart, out of which come the issues of life, is the secret. And when you apply this, your life will demonstrate the earth that the meek have already inherited, that you already were given, that you cannot be taken from, that you are the prodigal son already returned home. So again, for the tithe offer, of my grateful heart is with the gift from love by this recipient of good. Yes, you may not fully have received the fullness of this yet, but I promise you, as you keep repeating it slowly and with feeling, and you allow the stillness to speak to you, the silence will speak to you from this comprehension of knowledge and wisdom, and you will experience a shift in your attitude first, then through your actions, And then the consequence will be the demonstration of right-minded correctness in the standing of already having received. For this recipient of good, of the gift from love, love is perfect love, which means God, is with the grateful heart by the tithe offered. Now, step 2 is after you have received. Now, you sit with these two in your silence, in your meditation, on your walks, whatever you do, where you are sowing that time to God, allowing wisdom to speak to you. When you receive your aha moment, you will experience a change in consciousness. This change in consciousness is the confirmation that it is time to go to step 2 and not before that. Just because you've read it and you've heard it does not mean you have received it. It has to get into your heart. When this reaches your heart, you will experience peace. The peace of the Lord will come upon you. When that happens, you are ready for step number 2. When I did the Perfect Your Timing technique, the PTT, the truth statement that I want you to focus on in your knowledge capacity, in your thought, God's love fills all space. I want you to reflect on this idea. Literally, reflect on the idea itself. God's love fills all space. As you perform the act of your tithing. So as you are preparing your heart to receive that which has already been given through the act of your tithe, I want you to dwell on the idea. God's love fills all space. And step number 3 is the self-entrainment technique, the set of this fruit. We know that it is humility. I want you to remember a time when you felt that everything was perfect in your world, even if it was a fleeting snapshot of a moment, because the attitude adjustment that you're going to make is that it is well with thee. In other words, because it is perfect and well with God, and because you're the reflection of God, the image and the likeness of, that it is well with you, because it is well with God, and there is only God. When you have confirmation of that feeling space, you lock that in through a set. That is the expression of humility. And then you scale it to an 8 or above. And to keep yourself in that space, you can have a logic patch that you carry with you. And here's one that I made that could help you. If humility, i.e. meekness, i.e. the attitude that it is well with thee, right? If humility is the poison that kills the carnal sense that is associated with the curse of man, the curse of the fallen man, humility is the poison that kills that carnal sense. And I prove God in this way as instructed in Malachi 3:10. It says, prove me now. It's the only part of the Bible that says it. Then God will be 100% responsible for demonstrating His goodness, which means I can let go of fear now, because it is well with thee. And then you go about your business. I am absolutely not concerned, because I know wonderful things are happening, because God is all in all. I have planted my tithe. I stand in humility. I know that God is the only power, presence, mind, and activity. Therefore, for this recipient of good, of the gift from love, is with the grateful heart by the tithe offer. As I sow my seed, I reflect on this truth and I say, God's love fills all space. God's love fills all space. You're not giving anything away that belongs to you. You're not receiving anything that belongs to another. It is God's love that fills all space, which means there is only God's love. There is not God's love and then you, and then some other competing mind, some other opposing interest. There is God's love that fills all space, period. By reflecting and acting and being in this capacity, in this manner, you will scale your faith and your trust exponentially, and trust is the most powerful force in the universe. Figured I would go for a walk today and then a run with the hills as soon as I get there, so kind of get out and enjoy this as always. I have no agenda, but I do know that I was receiving another download for the class that I'm going to do in a few days. Link is below, by the way, if you want that. It's a private 4-hour training based on what I'll be doing and what I believe is the most beneficial action to take during this season and where we're headed next. That's really all there is to it. It's what's on my heart, what wisdom I've been shown in my contemplative time, and hopefully being able to share that with some people that want to reap the harvest. So what can we talk about today? What's the topic at hand? Well, Christmas will be here in a couple days. And I've really gotten myself into the spirit of it this year, and really just reflecting on the idea that we only get to keep in life what we give. We only get to keep in life what we give. That's really the message. The reason why so many people struggle is because they're afraid to give, which ultimately means they're afraid to love. Because divine love is the only true gift that can be given. Because divine love is God, and God fills all space of existence. So you can never impoverish yourself by coming from divine love. You can only express more of yourself. Now, if that didn't just explode your brain, then chances are your IQ is at the temperature of this weather out here. And that's okay, because that's just the carnal reflection of mentality, when wisdom itself is all-knowing and all-encompassing knowledge. So let me break that down a little simpler. When man holds back in fear, when man stagnates, when man doubts, it's going to be a little windy today. The connectivity to good is severed. And that's because man did that to himself. Man did that to himself because of his own disbelief. because of his own unbelief. That's it. What else you got to know? When man gives fearlessly out of the all-sufficiency within himself, man reveals more of what he truly is. Divine love made manifest. I mean, if it got any easier than that, I'd have to be teaching kindergarten spiritual school. And yet that's the most advanced teaching on the planet. It's so simple that only the meek can discover it. The arrogant never will. And the arrogant are the proud and the haughty and the fallen. They are the mortals. They are the ones that have destroyed virtually everything that they put their hands to. Because they're stupid. And yet they congregate in places of high esteem according to their own knowledge. And yet they're already defeated. And yet they proclaim victory at every turn, yet never achieve anything. And yet they were not, because nothing other than the mind of God ever came into being. And so where are all these counterfeit mortals coming from? The mind of this world and all of its emanations, according to the 5 human senses, reveals to itself its own envy and strife. So if you are of the mind of this world, you're the prodigal son. If you are of the mind of God, you have returned home. That's no longer a prodigal son. That is an equal to Christ. Equal means on a level playing field, a level court. That means to be the image and likeness of, the reflecting expression within one mind, one knowledge, one truth. Pretty simple stuff. Never boring though. See, there's a big difference. Yes, it's very simple, but it's never boring. There's nothing more boring than the carnal mind and all of its emanations, because there's one common denominator, and it's deficiency. It's always at a deficiency. It's always got to spin more crap on top of itself to try to keep itself feeding off itself in the void of emptiness that it is. So it's a never-ending wheel, okay, of false creation, because it can't create anything, because it doesn't have any authority. It doesn't have an authorization, and it's not an author. That's why it says that beware of the man who knows one book, for he knows. Beware of the man who knows one book, for he knows. Well, book means author. One authority, one God, one mind. That's what it means. What is that mind? What the heck are we talking about? I'm talking about love. Perfect love that casts out fear. That's God. It's one mind. Fear is all the carnal mind's emanations. It's thinking. It's human reasoning. It's of the devil. Take no thought for your life. Master Yahshua says, take no thought for your life. Doth not God know that you have need of these things? For even the lilies are more abundant than King Solomon, all of his splendor. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. How can we be in the kingdom of heaven and yet walk through the valley of the shadow of death at the same time, like the psalmist writes. How can we be the children of God and be persecuted by Satan at the same time? How can that possibly be? Well, when you ask a flawed question, you get a flawed answer every time. So let's try that again. How can God know only good? How can God know only good? You see, what I did is I took a negative. I took the carnal mind's dance of the adverb, adjective, pronoun, dance of the 1-2, 1-3-2, 2-3-2 dance, and turned this into position lotial fact in a positive state of mind. So for this mind of the Christ is with the truth by the author. Now that's how you know one book. So I just grafted you a 5, 6, 7 position lotial fact. Now space venue of awareness. Truth. For this author of the fact is with the good by this claim, by this claimant. Okay, there you go. There you go. There you go. There's a logic patch. It's pretty airtight when you really think about it. It's in a positive performance, not in a negative state of condition, which is what the human mind is. So here we are, in this perfect day that the Lord hath created, being of the pure mind of God, knowing no other gods, no other idols, no other graven images. Graven images. What do they put on a grave? What do they put in plain sight? They put R.I.P. They put rest in peace. Because they want to show you how you come to the place of receiving this good. Because they have to tell you in plain sight to keep you bound in the Babylonian system. So, when they show you the grave of resting in peace, they are letting you know that if you put your heart in a restful position of trust in receiving the peace of Christ, that you have taken back your claim of being the son or descendant of God. Isn't that something? Isn't that something how they could say, oh, you're dead, you're on the tombstone. And in reality, that's what the mortal mind sees, but the mind that knows all, is all, and has all, can see right through all the ignorance to its own fact, because it never knew the ignorance. It never knew the evil. It never knew the lack. Never knew the disease. I never knew you, Satan. You see, when I look at the tombstone, when I look at the grave, and it says R.I.P., rest in peace, I know that I'm dead to this world and alive in spirit. And because I'm alive in spirit, I'm the reflection and the image and likeness of God. As long as I'm in peace, I am at rest in that position. Position, lotial fact. 5, 6, 7. We don't need to use a modification of a fact and create the coloring of the man, the H-U-E man. Okay, that's the coloring of the law. The law is that which governs, and the man of this world is governed by ignorance. So the law of the flesh is always a dangling participle verb. It's always no closure, no fact, because it has no truth. But since I and the Father are one, I am in a position of truth. Therefore, I can be location, okay, position, location, fact. My position is at the right hand of the Father. The righteousness, the right brain, the right side of the parent mind. So what the parent mind says is true is right by me. Therefore, my location is pegged. And the word humility means peg. And humility is what gives you the kingdom consciousness. Now, the fact we already discussed. For the author of the good is with the fact by this claimant. For this claimant of the fact is with the good by the author. Just sit with it. Enjoy it. Of course, people say, oh, it's not going to solve my problems. That's not going to solve my problems. You don't understand what I'm going through. Well, there isn't God in you. There's only God. As soon as you know that the pure mind of God is all in all, then wherever that condition stated that it has a claim, we know that it's a liar, for right in that space, God was the all in all, and perfect love had already casted out fear. So fear never had an author, it never had a place for location, it never had any fact in it. Therefore, it was a dangling participle verb with no closure, no fact, no existence. Now that'll do more for you when you least expect it than you can even imagine. Because once you have truth in you, it casts out error. So if you've heard me, then the truth has reached you. Be of one mind, not the mind of this world. This world is not it. We'll talk about it some more. Alright, so you have multiple languages here. You got Chinese, Swedish, or the Hebrew, Dutch, German, Spanish, Danish, Japanese, Finnish, English, Russian. And what is it saying? What is it saying everywhere? May peace prevail on earth. Peace is prevailing on earth. Alright? So, it's a powerful talk. So what is this power of peace? It's to hold ourselves together when things like that happen, where the carnal mind draws attention. The carnal mind is always saying, look at me, validate me. Here's some problems I've got, here's some trouble, here's something for you to think about. Think about this, and we really don't need to think about it at all. Contemplating something that is going from a problem and trying to correct itself in some capacity is actually not how you do it. All right, that's the backwards approach. That's the labyrinth of your mind catching you in the back door every time. So, in reality, Now, let's look at the volition of thought. I can't qualify or judge someone's volition of thought, but I can only surmise that when somebody needs to draw attention to themselves in such a aggressive way, let me rev my engine, look at me, look at how great my car is, look at this, I'm important. Not saying that that's the case. That may not be the case. But if it were the case, all I can suggest is that if it were the case, because I can't judge without knowing any more information about why that would happen, other than it was the impersonal carnal mind, which doesn't belong to anybody. It scours the earth looking for a host, operating through that carnal mind, trying to attack the blissful peace and flow of what's going on right here. And you see, you look at it in that regard, and then you can understand that the volition of thought is always enmity against truth, because the carnal mind doesn't belong to any body. It is of no root. It has no author. It scours the earth looking for a host. It is the serpent in the garden. So there found a host, and it says, hey, you think you're going to transmit about peace? I will throw my lashing tongue at you, my snake tongue. And you see, that's what happens in the world, is that the world begins to throw these things at you. Market crashes, relationship blowouts, so-called health problems, strife going on. It's all envy and strife. That's what the law of the fallen man is it's the operation of envy and strife through the carnal mind. Now, in that split second, we have a decision to make. If I'm from the carnal mind, then I go, yeah, buddy, and I give that to him right there, right? Well, here's the idea. What good would that do if the carnal mind is reflecting back to itself its own stupidity? Now, what if I just held my peace and I allowed the carnal mind to be the nothing that it was, is, and always will be from ab initio, from the beginning? What if I center myself in a place, position, lodeal fact, in a position of peace, and I refuse to step out of that position? Who or what could take me out of that position? You see, when Daniel was thrown in the lion's den, no, Siri. Oh, that's great. Siri is coming into the picture. See, Siri jumped in and she wanted to show me the story of this. Okay, that's good. All right, now here's the idea. Daniel knew that his relationship with God is inseparable, and that means that the good cannot be obstructed or broken, and therefore the harmony exists in all points of existence, just like what a hologram would suggest, that the small point is the whole of it, and every point is the same whole. There's nothing but the wholeness fractaling within itself as unique individual expressions of the wholeness. That's what you are as you live, move, and have your being in the mind of Christ, which is the imagination, which is the spiritual realm. So if I refuse to allow anything from the outer, the deficiency in the outer aeons, to come against my peace, and I decide that peace is where my location is, my position is to reflect that peace. That's position, location, lodeal fact. Now I just state my fact is that every point of existence bears nothing but the good fruit of God, because God is all in all. Therefore I'm absolutely not concerned, because I know wonderful things are happening, because God is all in all. And see, Exodus 14:14, if I yet remain still, God will fight my battles, which means to hold your peace. And so if I can remain unmoved and undisturbed, imperturbable to the suggestions or the temptation from that snake in the garden, no matter what the appearance may suggest, because the outer form may dance around and shape itself according to my suppressed mortal fear that I may have made judgments about in the past, because judgments come to haunt us. These are nothing but emanations of shadows of ignorance coming forth to be brought to the light through the truth of our understanding that God is all and God is love. Hence the PTT. God is all, God is love. See, these deficiencies come to us for healing. For instance, that carnal mind, look at me, I seek attention, I need approval. I know that there was never a carnal mind, that God's mind seeks not for validation, because God's mind validates within itself perfectly, and it could never be invalidated at any specific point. So there never could exist a mortal who became invalidated throughout any of his so-called timeline at any point in his life. So there is no little man complex. There is no derivative of the true man of God. See, everything that feasts itself in the natural lives off the derivatives. That's why there's a derivatives market that has hundreds of trillions of dollars, and nobody can truly speculate what the correct value of anything is, because the derivatives, the derivatives are where all of the manipulation and all of the counterfeit currency exists. And currency is force of life. Life force. That's what it is. My own natural energy yield, money. Current flows. See, bioelectric man means current is flowing, electrical circuits. Now, if I know that my true abode as the position lodial fact is the mind of Christ, I come from the mind of Christ, I'm emanating from that position. In reality, that is the true being, and I am the reflection of that being. Therefore, I can bear only what the true being has. The author authenticates its own reflection, validating itself as itself through me. But it only does that when I'm in the position of peace, because I am the location only through that position of peace. Position, lodial fact. See, I have to be in peace in order to receive that validation. And so I don't need external validation from any source. Your wealth is not your cryptocurrency wallet, your bank account, your health, any of these things that you believe are giving you sustenance are truly of nothing. They are the emanations of thought, and that thought has become frozen in thought space, thought, time, space, reality, illusion, right? It's just a frozen thought condensed in what you call material 5 sense decay, centrifugal loss of power. It's matter. Matter is an illusion. So what you see with your lying eyes are the judgments that the carnal mind has made and attempts to identify you with as, and tries to put the burden of paying those debts to this world upon you. So you become prodigal in that moment when you buy into that, and how you buy into it is you leave the position of peace. You leave the position of peace and you go into the realm of strife. The moment you left your peace is the moment you lost your power, because you lost your ability to remain rooted in the position of factual evidence of the Christ mind that knows no strife. See, if you were of the Christ mind and you knew no strife, then how did you become agitated? See, everything in the universe is agitation and rest. And when we put rest and peace back into its proper place, we are exuding our true knowledge of the Father. See, and all suffering is from lack of knowledge of the Father. So we don't want to let ourselves be tattered and let ourselves be disturbed, because there is nothing outside of goodness. Goodness remains intact. So the medium is the message, the structure is the message, but I say the media is the message, all right? Marshall McLuhan said the medium is the message. I say the media is the message. So you have Johann Gutenberg created the printing press to sell indulgences to the Catholic Church. Through the Catholic Church, I mean. Now, what is the Catholic Church, right? It means to cover all. If you look at the word, Catholicism means to covering. It's covering all, the whole world. And it's selling indulgences, right? Why? To saddle people with fear and guilt. And then you have bound them. That means religion, to relegare, to bind. All right? And there you go. You got Benjamin Franklin, the printer. Printing press. That was a media. Alright, sitting up real quick here, and look at this right here. Take the high road, it says, high road. So everywhere you go, like I'm literally just getting some printouts and doing my daily errands while I walk and then get to the hills to get my run in eventually. I'm in the flow, and God talks to me in that space, and that's really how you're engineered to live. Like, you're literally in the garden when you are in the now, and God is talking to you all around you, because that's all there is all around you is God. In you, through you, around you, and as you. That's all there is. So I put this together as we go, and the truth reveals itself because of the state of being, the consciousness. That's all there is. So what I wanted to discuss is this idea called the currency markets. Currency. Right now, for example, there are many reasons to speculate either for or against certain currency markets in terms of direction, which way they'll go, up, down, flat, whatever. What are you talking about when you say currency markets? Do you ever look at the words? Currency, well, that's life energy, okay? That's the flow of life. So the flow of life is currency, okay? Now look what you're saying also. You're saying current on the sea. Sea is maritime. Okay, maritime has to do with vessels, and it has to do with fiction, has to do with the law that governs most of this planet. Okay, maritime. Markets comes from Mercuria, which means the god of trade and thievery. Okay, so the word commerce means war. So in essence, you're in a shipping war, all right? And the god of Mercury, mercantile, all right, Mercurius, Merx, M-E-R-X. What you're talking about when currency markets, because markets is derived from that 12th century root, is the law. God means law. God implies law. The law of thievery, the law of trade, buying and selling. And commerce means war. Now, what is always at war with each other? The carnal mind. It's always in plain sight, hiding in the truth right in front of your lying eyes. So the deal is since the media is the message, the perception, if you will, of what is to come, derived from analytical, logical analysis, has its root in lying thievery. And so when these markets move, because movement is the only permanent reality, is that just like on the water, you see the current flow, you see it, the tide coming in, the tide going out. These movements, this changeable nature, is the basis of all external reality. That's why it says in the book of Matthew, lay not treasures on this earth where moth and dust can corrupt and consume. The truth is you want to lay your treasures in the inner kingdom, all right? And how you do that is based in the Nag Hammadi library. You sow in the winter. That's the world outside of you. That's what I'm talking about. That's maritime. That is the law of market movement, corruption, and thievery. Okay? Now, that's what operates there, right? We have to go to a higher law. That's why when you tithe, and when you put your faith and your trust, and you take the high road, and you go into the position of having been already given all sufficiency in all things and nothing could ever move you out of that place, then you can begin to hear God. All right? Now it mentions the word heart in that same scripture. Heart has the word hear in it, and it has the T, which is the carpenter's box, which means to hear, which means to obey. So if you're obeying with the T, you've got obeying down to the T, to the ideas of this world. So if you give your heart to this world, it means you have obeyed the ways of this world. So the way that you want to interpret the word heart in the Bible is, what is your obedience to the letter given to? Okay? Where is your obedience positioned? If you're listening for man to give you a stock tip or some cryptocurrency advice, you should check the source of where this man is coming from. Because snakes and vipers, in disguise as your help, are the most common thing on this trajectory where moth and rust consume and corrupt. Wolves in sheep's clothing, lying thieves, are everywhere, all around you, surrounding you, with one idea in mind, because they're all carnally minded, therefore they are of the father of lies. They are driven by the father of lies, and the father of lies always comes to rob, steal, and kill. So therefore, to the best of your knowledge, you've tried to get ahead on your own for all of this time, only to come to realize, with real spiritual eyes, that everything, even on the Sabbath day of rest in the outer, is a deficiency and void of good. There's nothing there, is what I'm telling you. You think you have all of this wealth stored up, and I tell you that there's nothing there. I tell you that you have nothing, and it will not be relied upon on a rainy day, because it is of nothing. The idea is to sow of your Father's wealth, to come from your Father's faith, trust, and certainty of goodness in the expression of giving in that realm. And then you plant your treasures in the immutable storehouse of spiritual perfection, where you begin to release the supernatural force of expectation. And you see, expectation is a drawing force that draws forth from the parent mind, from the Father, the riches in heaven, and brings them into the position of being of use to you with your material hands that you believe you have. I know how the game works only because I have put God to the test, where it said, "Prove me now," for over 2 decades. I know the Father. I know the goodness of the Father. I know the demonstration of tithing. Tithing says, "I will rebuke the devourer." The devourer is that carnal mind that is operating in the world of commerce out there. That is the impersonal carnal mind that has been set to come against you to steal, rob, and to kill. And it has been using any and every host possible to manipulate, to coerce, to bribe, and to ultimately take everything from you possible. Left to your own devices, you stand not a chance of getting out of here intact. surrendering all to the one principle, one power, one mind, one activity of good through the act of tithing, you no longer come from arrogance, which is weakness. You come from meekness, which is immutable strength. And when you show yourself strong on behalf of the Lord in this capacity, then prosperity is yours because of reflection and not because of what you think, what you do, or what you have in this realm where moth and rust consume. So think about it and lean not on your own human understanding, because your human understanding comes from the word hue, which means H-U-E, the coloring of the law of the true man of God, which means your human understanding is pegged from a position of arrogance, pointing your arrow through the gnosis of this world in a stance or a standing, a jurisdiction of being punished by the accuser. When you become haughty and proud and believe that you of yourself have accomplished anything, you are arrogant, you are haughty, you are proud, and you are going to be extorted, because that is the law in operation that has been set before those who are under the curse. The only thing that removes the curse is the tithe. Think about it.